Attention, you're listening to The Todd Huff Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk and education. Be advised, the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. And now, coming to you from the Full Suite Wealth Studios, here's your conservative but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Well, that is right, my friends. I've got a question for you here off the top of the program. Do you feel more optimistic about this economy, about the state of things, than you did, heck, even 3 or 4 months ago, 6 months ago? Certainly you do. If you've been paying any bit of attention whatsoever and live in reality, certainly you feel better about things than you did a year ago when we were in the midst of, by this point in time, well, I guess we were still at the point in time when people were still defending the Biden second term, his candidacy to continue in office, although there was a fight about that. I don't think Kamala was officially locked in until August. But anyway, you think back to those times, and you certainly feel better today than you did then. I want to talk about that because consumer confidence has risen more shockingly than the experts predicted. I also want to talk a little bit about Spartacus. Spartacus is out there making another spectacle from the Senate floor, doing what Dramocrats do, which is engaging in Dramocratic activity wherever they find themselves. This just happens to be on the floor of the U.S. Senate. That's where I want to go today. Thoughts, questions, feedback, yes, always include the appropriate amount of adoration and praise for yours truly. Kidding, but not exactly. You can do that by emailing Todd at toddhuffshow.com. My friends, let's be honest. When your financial world starts getting a little more complicated, you need more than a one-size-fits-all approach, more than one-size-fits-all advice. You need something more specific to your particular circumstances and needs. That's where Full Suite Wealth shines the brightest. Their team specializes in working with families and individuals at your level, offering personalized guidance that goes far beyond the basics, from private equity and private credit to options, strategies, and coordinated legal planning. Full Suite Wealth helps you see the big picture and make confident decisions about your legacy, my friends. And that's what you're working on leaving, is a legacy. It's about having a dedicated team to guide you every step so you can focus on what matters most to you, your family, your goals, your future. Want real confidence in your financial life? Visit FullSuiteWealth.com. That's FullSuiteWealth.com. Build your legacy, secure your future. All right, so friends, you know that the left is a peculiar bunch of people, right? They're angry. In fact, yesterday, I think I mentioned this at the very, very end of the program yesterday. It was the subject of yesterday's Todd Talk. But the left was upset this time at Sydney Sweeney. For those of you who don't know, and I don't know a lot of these things, although I did know who Sydney Sweeney was, there's a lot of these actors and actresses I don't have the first clue about. Hollywood means next to nothing to me. I have no interest. I never had an interest in that. You can, that's fine. I don't, and I probably never will. That being said, Sydney Sweeney, who's a young actress, she happens to be white, which matters for the sake here of this discussion, unfortunately. She happens to be blonde-headed and I believe blue-eyed, I think. And she has upset the left. The left is upset constantly. They find things to be upset about. And they're upset at an ad that American Eagle put together and had Sydney Sweeney collaborate, that's the word of the day, collaborate with them on. to promote their jeans. There's an ad campaign. There's a 30-second ad, which I would call incredibly unoffensive. Unoffensive. I mean, she does reference her how your butt looks in the jeans, but it's not a vulgar ad. Now, there's a couple other shorter ads that are a little bit racier. I don't know that it's nothing. It's nothing close to some of the things that we've seen on in these ad campaigns on television in the past. I know yesterday Oz and I were talking, and we were remembering the Paris Hilton, what was it, Hardee's and Carl's Jr. ads back in the day. Nothing remotely close to that sort of thing, but nonetheless, certainly playing off of Sydney Sweeney's looks and her appearance. And the campaign slogan is Sydney Sweeney has great genes, I think is what it is. And it's a play on words. She's got great jeans that she's wearing that American Eagle has provided for her. You can get them too, right? That's the idea. On top of that, she's got great genes, genetically genes that have given her this aesthetic, this look that people think is great. So there's this, this double meaning, and it's a great, I think, a slogan. It's a good campaign. It makes sense. But of course, I mentioned yesterday, the left thinks that this is Nazi propaganda. The left thinks that this is white supremacy because they're only saying that she has great genes because she's white. The level of being, the degree to which you have to be blinded to truth and reality and to just be intentionally obtuse and not get the point. I don't know if anybody does this better than the left. So I talked about that yesterday. I don't want to get into that. I want to use this to say in a similar way, the left has been obtuse about President Trump. The left has been obtuse about Trump's handling of the economy. The left has been obtuse about tariffs. Listen, when the tariff situation was coming out, you can go back and listen to this program. I never defended tariffs as a long-term tool. I defended them as a negotiating tool. I was open to the reality. I remember talking about the reality that I didn't know how this was going to impact prices on things, because certainly one of two things could happen. I've imported things before. Some of you may have imported things before. And, tariffs was one of the things that I had to contend with and, can factor into pricing and so forth. Or you can say tariffs themselves are also the shipping cost, because sometimes you could get items that would come on a ship, but you had to have plenty of time, and you had to typically have a large enough order. For the things that I was importing and having produced, sometimes it was a smaller order and people needed them quicker, so we had to ship them typically by air, which was more expensive, but this was a more expensive product we were having produced. It's electronic, and some of these costs were variable, or they were semi unknown at the time that you're trying to get the order. It can be complicated. So, but you had a decision. Let's say that you weren't planning to do, I don't know, you might have planned to do a shipment by sea, and then you might have had to do a shipment by air instead. Well, you have a decision to make as the company. You could pass that cost along to the consumer, or in my case, a business, or you might say, I have to eat that because it's going to price it out of the market. And that, it was from day one, the reality of what was going to happen with the tariffs. In the short term, there would be some factors that were going on. Companies would be looking for ways to cut costs on production. Companies would be looking for ways to maybe get around the tariff, maybe have it produced domestically. Sometimes that's just not possible. But maybe they started looking at other other countries, or maybe they looked at other factories, or maybe these factories, realizing that they were about to lose a whole lot of business, decided for the sake of the long-term security, the long-term success of their business, they might have said, we're not going to pass these along in the interim. Maybe in the long term we have to. But that's kind of what's been happening. And we talked about that very thing. We talked about, depending upon what margins look like, depending upon the willingness of the market to pay the increased price and all that stuff, this is what businesses were going to be considering. This was all going to be part of the equation. Trump turns out to be majorly right in this area. And in fact, I saw just yesterday, Caroline Levitt, I think it was yesterday, it was recently, she posted that we have seen, I think it was the biggest amount of revenue from tariffs in the month of, I don't know if it was June's report or it can't be for July. Maybe it was month to date through July, something like that recently. And since Trump has taken office, the country has brought in $150 billion with a B in tariffs. That's significant. In fact, it's to the point where even I saw Josh Hawley, senator from the state of Missouri, that he has talked about, and Trump has said he's been open to this as well. I mean, there's been hints at this, but Hawley's come out and said just this week that he thinks we should look into giving taxpayers a $600 rebate or whatever you want to call it from the tariffs. Whatever you want to take from, that's whatever you think about all that. The point here is that the media has been obtuse. The Democrat Party has been obtuse. They've refused to see Trump for what he really is. Again, they're playing a different game than the rest of us. They're playing a different game. You and I want to see the economy improve. You and I want to see liberty actually reestablish itself in this country. We want to see liberty flourish. We want to see opportunity flourish, not because the government is trying to create it, but because the government is getting out of the way of those who are actually creating it in the free market. That's what you and I want to see. But the people in the media, the people in government, unless they're elected officials or a Trump appointee, they are cheering for bad things to happen because the political consequences for Trump and MAGA Republicans will be negative. That's the sad reality, but that is the cold, hard truth. And so they've intentionally acted like that things aren't as good as they are. And so it's great to watch when they actually have to report on this. It's great to see, for example, CNN have to tell us that consumer confidence, the most recent consumer confidence numbers shows that the consumer confidence is at a 97.2. It was back in April, it had reached a low of 85.7. So it's increased nearly 12 points. What is that? 11.5 points. It's increased since April. And if you think back and you look at why, the picture becomes clear. In April, we were told that Trump was going to drive this country into a recession. You remember April was when Trump started really leveraging these tariffs and starting this, you could call it trade war, whatever you want to call it, really ratcheting up the pressure on these foreign countries and our trade deals and our trade imbalances and sometimes our one-sided tariffs, which of course they were charging for goods that we import. In many cases, we were not charging in return. Trump says we want reciprocal tariffs. Trump said a lot of things, which I heard someone the other day say, you have to understand Trump values, it was well said, and I don't have the name of the individual who said this, But he said Trump values, I don't remember the specific example, but he values, say, saving the life of someone that he's trying to negotiate for more than transparency. Trump values, for example, a positive outcome on the economy more than he values transparency. It doesn't mean that he's trying to be manipulative and hiding things, but he would rather there be this kind of opaqueness to his negotiating approach, and to basically keep people off balance, uncertain about what's going to happen next, because that helps his, and by extension, our position on negotiation. And if you understand that, you'll understand why some of the things that Trump has said about tariffs at least has evolved over time. Because again, we talked about reciprocal tariffs at first. Then we talked about tariffs, just as a tool to get people to the negotiating table to renegotiate. And then Trump said, look, I like these tariffs. These are a good thing. These are a good thing. We've got trade imbalances. We're trying to address that problem. And Trump has negotiated trade agreements with lots of people. Most recently, the European Union. And consumers have gone from listening to the fear that has been cast upon them by the people in the media, who, of course, they are simply the PR firm for the Democrat Party. They've gone from listening to that to beginning to realize that every time the media tells us there is calamity on the horizon because of Trump, and Trump says that's not the case. We're going to make America great again. We're going to put America first. We're going to help our people. We're going to bring business and investment back to this country. There are tons of examples of this. And it just seems to me that people are beginning to feel that. They've watched as the price of eggs literally came down, even though they told us the price of eggs, the media, the Democrat Party, was not going to come down. So how do you feel about this? I'm incredibly optimistic, especially when you realize just a couple of summers ago, we were at inflation rates that were pushing double digits. I mean, it was out of control. It was disastrous. It was harming people in massive, major ways. That has all come to a relative screeching halt, and a lot of it has to do, the battle over illegal immigration doesn't get brought into this broader discussion on the economy, but it absolutely, you talk about reducing expenses and a financial burden on the federal, state, and local governments. When you start seeing people who are not supposed to be here, who are not legally paying, taxes into the system or getting paid under the table or whatever, but are using public services, public transportation and things like that, when you begin to get people out who are not supposed to be here and who have been a financial burden on the American people, on the taxpayer, that's something I think that's showing up here as well. So, consumer confidence is up in July. It's been revised. The number that we were told that it was going to go up, it was going to be 95.2. It's gone up 2 points above what it was projected to go up. And what that ultimately means is that people are more optimistic, are more hopeful, are more excited about what is happening in this country than the people in the media can prevent them from being. Basically, they are more excited than even, and optimistic than even what the projections were. So in spite of being told how terrible things are, how terrible Trump is, and all these sorts of things, we find ourselves heading in a fantastic direction when it comes to the economy, when it comes to a lot of things, when it comes to illegal immigration, when it comes to bringing jobs back, certain types of jobs that were considered gone for good, or at least deteriorating or being deplenished from our economy. You have businesses that are bringing investment back here because of the tariffs, because of what Trump has done. And just a couple of months ago, we were told that was going to cause basically the Great Depression 2.0. However, as it is with everything else, what we were told turns out to be exactly the opposite of what comes to pass, what has transpired here in this great nation. All right, so pausing here, I want to set up where I want to go next in the program. I got a soundbite next segment that I want to play for you with Spartacus, Cory Booker, on the floor of the U.S. Senate being a dramacrat as usual. So we will pick that up here on the other side of the timeout, that's coming here in a few minutes. Friends, you may know, if you've listened to this program for any length of time, that we here at the Todd Huff Show have started a division of the company called Red, White, and Brand. Red, White, and Brand is a promotional company that helps people with their logoed products. So Red, White, and Brand helps people get their logo on almost anything. I throw the word almost in there because occasionally there's something that can't be done. But I'm telling you, I would have to think long and hard about the things that we haven't been able to do. Now, I say that, keep in mind that I had a business like this previously that we sold. We had it for about 10 years. We sold it 6 years ago, and now we've relaunched it, and we're here to help you put your logo on almost anything. So you can go to the website, redwhiteandbrand.com. Use promo code Todd while shopping there or while contacting us, and we'll give you a 10% discount. If you place your order online, you will get a 10% discount. You'll get the 10% discount with the discount code. You'll get free shipping if you place an order online. redwhiteandbrand.com, promo code Todd. All right, so let's set this up. I just have a few seconds here, but where we're headed next. Cory Booker, a.k.a. Spartacus, a.k.a. the one who now has the longest filibuster in the U.S. Senate. This guy is, he's a drama. He's the poster child for what a dramacrat is. It's all about the performance. It's all about, and it's bad. It's not even good. It's really, really bad acting. He probably would get whatever they give out to, I don't know, what, Academy Award. What do they give these stupid awards to people? But he probably would get it, not based upon the quality of his performance, but rather because the folks who hand out those awards are politically in lockstep with him. But if there was a grade on his performance, he would get a solid F. But he's out there being a dramacrat. He's upset some other dramacrats along the way. I want to talk about that, but I've got to do that on the other side of the break. Sit tight, my friends. Back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. Think about this really quickly. Your investments are like seeds that you plant. They grow, they multiply, but are they bearing the kind of fruit that you want them to bear? And I don't just mean return on investment. Are you investing in companies that are pushing in the same direction for the type of America that you want? It's easier to figure that out than you might realize, and that's what 4-8 Financial is here to help you do. They believe your money should reflect your values. They specialize in wealth management and biblically responsible investing. They screen out companies that do not align with your faith. It's all part of their purpose-centered financial planning, helping you live a life of meaning and purpose. If you want to see if your investments align with your values, all you have to do is visit 48financial.com/Todd. Take the assessment there. I did the assessment. You can do it as well. It's not hard to do. It's pretty quick and painless. And you'll get a report back from them to see what your current investments are doing. Do your investments align with your values, or are you funding some of these things that go against your faith and your conservative values? 48financial.com/Todd. That's where you go. 48 Financial. They're here to worry about your money so that you do not have to. All right. So before the break, I told you about Spartacus. Spartacus is quite the character. Spartacus, I'm sorry, I'm looking at a still shot of him on the Senate floor. this is so pathetic to me. This is, I don't know how people can look at themselves in the mirror if they behave like this. You know, one of the things I've always refused to do on this program is how do I say this? Authenticity is a big deal to me. Now, I know some people get on a show like this and they play a character. I don't do that. It repulses me candidly. Now that doesn't mean, and I heard whatever you think about Chris Rock, but Chris Rock once said this. You know, when he's on stage, he doesn't change himself; he just amplifies it. So there's things I amplify, and I use, you know, a little bit of drama here or there, playful humor, sarcasm, different tools for rhetoric. I use satire, hyperbole. I have a little fun. But I don't play a character. I don't have to get into a role. Sometimes I have to get into a groove where you feel like the brain is firing and this stuff is just making sense, and I'm kind of in a state of a good flow. But I don't have to worry about playing a role, playing a character. And as I look at this picture of Spartacus here, as he's got his lips, I don't know, that's, what do you, not pursing your lips, what do you call it when you kind of pull your lips inward and what do you call that, Oz? Oz isn't even paying attention. But you got your lips kind of the opposite of puckering your lips. You got them kind of pulled in. He's kind of looking out at the Senate floor with disdain. You guys out there aren't as good as Spartacus. He's above reproach. He's going to lecture you about what's going on. He takes to the Senate floor. This is a couple minutes long. I'm going to stop it. Some of you don't like it. I'm sorry. You're going to have to deal with it. But it's how I talk about these things. But he takes to the Senate floor, and he basically starts going after his own party for being weak, which is interesting to me because, you know, in one sense, the Democrat Party is weak. They don't stand up for things that really need to be stood up for or defended. They don't stand up for children. They say that they should be able to have their sex changed, just as an example. They don't stand up for women. They act like they do. They don't stand up for women. In fact, knowing what they know about the long-term effects that abortion has on a woman, you'd think that they would be doing everything in their power to make sure women understood that. Nope. They don't care about that. They don't care about babies. But listen, they are not weak in other ways. They will fight to the end, and they typically stand together. So this is interesting to me to see this happen. This has reportedly upset a lot of Democrats, and I mean, I guess it should. But I want you to listen to some of the things Spartacus is out there saying. He's basically, I guess the bottom line is he's saying that the Democrat Party is complicit in not opposing the authoritarian dictator Nazi Trump. I guess that's effectively the bottom line of what he's saying, and it's time to draw the battle lines and to stop being complicit with Trump. I would say that that's what he's ultimately getting at. Of course, that's lunacy, but nonetheless, here's Spartacus on the Senate floor. What goes on with this? I literally test it, come back, and it stops working.
Democratic Party needs a wake-up call.
There we go.
I see law firms bending a knee to this president, not caring about the larger principles, that those free speech rights, that you could take on any client. Why are you bending the knee? I see universities that should be bastions of free speech
Gotta be kidding
bending at the knee to this president.
He's got to be kidding me. You mean to tell I'm 21 seconds into this, 23 seconds into this. He's out there saying that universities, I guess, ostensibly, were bastions of free speech until they started bending the knee to Trump. My friends, do you not remember when universities silenced conservative groups, getting conservative groups kicked off of campus? Some speakers that do this sort of thing. Speakers who were told they couldn't. Remember the Riley Gaines? Riley Gaines was effectively kidnapped. She couldn't move about freely on the campus because of these lunatics. Remember all the anti-Semitic protests and attacks on Jewish students. Conservative students were, at minimum, silenced. Remember, these are the folks, by the way, these are the folks that tell you if you're a white man, you need to be quiet and let the marginalized voices speak. You've spoken long enough. That doesn't sound like free speech to me. Listen, I'm all for letting everybody speak. But far be it to tell me who I have to listen to. If I start listening to a bunch of garbage from someone who's a white guy, a black lady, a Asian, it makes no difference to me. I'm not going to listen to it because it's crazy to me. Don't act like these universities were some sort of bastions of free speech, as you say, until Trump came along. Man, I've frozen the screen here. This guy looks like a lunatic. I wish I could show you. I just can't, since we're just talking to you over the radio or on audio podcast. But he continues here.
Businesses taking late night talk show hosts off the air because they dare to insult a president. I see people.
He's insane. Referring to Colbert. Colbert's being taken off the air because his show was losing CBS $40 million a year, between 40 and 50 million. He had 200 people, staffers on that. I have no idea what they're doing. I can't imagine a scenario where I would ever have 1/10 of that to help me produce content if we were to do television again or any. I can't even imagine. What were they doing? What was Colbert doing? Why does Colbert deserve $20 million if he needs 200 people to do who knows what to produce his stupid show? He wasn't taken off because he was saying bad things about Trump. That's being said everywhere. Do you think Colbert is the only one saying bad things about Trump? Spartacus, he continues.
Who want mergers suddenly think that they have to pay tribute to this president. And what are the very people here elected to defend the Constitution of the United States saying, oh, well, today, let's look the other way and pass some resources that won't go to Connecticut, that won't go to Illinois, that won't go to New York, that will go to the states he likes. That is complicity with an authoritarian leader who is trashing our Constitution. It's time for Democrats to have a backbone. It's time for us to fight. It's time for us to draw lines. And when it comes to the safety of my state being denied these grants, that's why I'm standing here.
By the way, he's talking about a policing bill that's going through Congress. That's what he's referencing here. I'm just out of time this segment. I'll pick this up on the other side of the break, but a timeout I must take, my friends. Sit tight. You're listening to Conservative, Not Bitter Talk. I'm your host, Todd Huff. Back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. What is Spartacus talking about here? He's upset because he doesn't want. There's policing bills that are going through Congress, and he's basically saying until there's the Democrats should be more unilaterally opposed to compromise or bipartisanship, which is interesting because, as I've said before, it's just interesting to watch how the media talks about bipartisanship. When they want Republicans to vote for Democrat issues, bipartisanship becomes the single most important thing on planet Earth. When they're trying to stop legislation from passing, bipartisanship becomes unnecessary, and they need to be principled and stand up for the values, whatever those are, of the Democrat Party. So Spartacus is upset. With the way the Democrats have worked to compromise with Republicans on policing bills. That's what he's upset about. He thinks that Democrats are complicit with the dictator, whatever. He's a lunatic. I'll get more into that in the time we have remaining here, my friends. Before I do that, for those of you who are from a family with high cholesterol or heart issues, listen up. Soul Tea is a good first step. It's a proactive step that you can take to take care of your heart's health. Now, this is good for anybody, especially as we age, but I would say in particular for those with high cholesterol or people who have a history of heart problems in their family. Soul Tea can be a great supplement, a great way to take good care of your heart's health. It's been clinically proven to lower cholesterol. It's not a drug. It's all natural, and it may be able to lower your cholesterol as well. No prescriptions, of course, no doctor visits. Not that there's anything wrong with those things, but listen, if you can start in the least non-offensive, natural way, that seems to me to be the best. I think you should consider it. I take it. Maybe you can too. Soltea.com, SOLTEA. Promo code Todd will save you 50% off your first purchase, and you will get free shipping to boot. Soltea.com, promo code Todd will get you the discount. All right, so let's go back here to Spartacus looking like a madman on the Senate floor. I've got another minute or so of this that I want to get to in this clip. So let's just pick up right where we left off.
Question my integrity. Don't question my motives. I'm standing for Jersey. I am standing for my police officers. I'm standing for the Constitution, and I'm standing for what's right. And dear God, if you want to come at me that way, you're going to have to take it up with me, because there's too much on the line right now in America.
This guy's a madman. Don't question his, and I question your integrity. I question this whole thing, Spartacus. I question every bit of this. I think this is 100% fabricated. I don't take a word you're saying seriously. I don't think that there's anything principled about this. I think this is a performance. I think this is something that you're hoping gets you to the top of the Democrat list to be presidential candidate in 2028. That's what I think. I don't think there's anything real here. I think this is faux outrage. I think this is a dramocratic performance. You look like a madman. You want to look like a tough guy. Your party has been looking like a bunch of wimps and ineffective just buffoons, and I think you're thinking this is the look that you want. And I think that that's completely warranted, Spartacus. I don't know how I bring it to you. I guess if someone knows Spartacus, you can send them this clip. Send this to Spartacus's office. I am officially questioning, I guess. I mean, you're the one that says this, don't question your integrity, but I'm not buying this. You're telling me that this is genuine and authentic and sincere. I'm questioning it. I'm just doing what I'm told here. I'm sending this to you, bringing it to you. Do with it what you may. But I don't think any of this is legitimate. I don't think any of this is authentic. I don't think any of this is sincere. I think it's all fake, 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 fake. That's what I think. Spartacus, he continues.
People's due process rights and freedom of the speech rights, and secret police are running around this country, picking people up off the streets who have a legal right to be here.
None of that is true. I don't have a lot of time left this segment. He says people's freedom of speech is being taken away. Ironically, it was being taken away previously. No one seemed to care. Do you remember when if you spoke out at a school board meeting, the federal government was actually having the FBI investigate folks? Remember this? Remember that? Remember if you tried to say what you thought about the how secure the 2020 election was, you couldn't say that if you had any questions about it. If you thought that the Hunter Biden laptop was a story that people needed to hear about before the 2020 election, you couldn't share that. Don't lecture me, Spartacus. Don't tell me that people are being arrested by the secret police. What in the world? I know he's referencing ICE, but that's not what's what's going on. There's no secret police. They're not taking people off the streets who are legally supposed to be here. If they're legally supposed to be here, they won't be deported. He continues.
Too much going on in this country.
Sure is. Too much of this crap.
When are we going to stand together for principles that I just heard that were agreed with? When are we going to stand together?
Okay, tough guy.
If we don't stand as Democrats, we deserve to lose.
Yes, well, you deserve to
But
lose.
if we stand
your
united,
ideas.
if we stand strong, if we stand with other people, if we tell with a chorus of conviction in America what this president is doing is wrong, if we stand up and speak that way, dear God, we will win. Like all of those people that are ancestors who joined hands together and said, we shall overcome. Okay. No, not on my watch. I'm protecting Jersey today.
Okay, tough guy.
I'm protecting our Constitution today.
All right. I got to go. Enough of the tough guy. SDG, my friends.